A crazy and wild Week 13 is in the books, chaos reigning supreme in the Southeastern Conference. First and foremost, Kentucky at Texas. It all went down exactly as I had foreseen. Texas winning 31-14 at home. Kind of a defensive struggle early. Texas began to bust it open. Then Quinn Ewers kind of tweaked his ankle just a little bit. Slowed the roll down a little bit for the Longhorns. But they come away with an impressive victory at home over Kentucky. Texas improves to 10-1 in the season, 6-1 in SEC play. Only one game left in the 24 regular season, and that just happens to be the Lone Star Showdown in College Station. And what a game that will be. Texas playing for a spot in the SEC title game in year one. Texas A&M looking to spoil that opportunity for the Horns. What a game it will be. I think most people will be tuning into that matchup Saturday night. Speaking of chaos, probably the most notable game from Saturday, Alabama at Oklahoma. I don't know of anyone who had Oklahoma winning this game, especially by a score of 24-3. Bama just looked like they were not ready to play. They barely even showed up that night. And for folks like Kangaroo Black who are lamenting this performance, all I got to say is just hang in there, man, because it was pretty bad. And as a Longhorn fan, I have suffered through more than a few bad seasons in the past decade or so. So hang on, keep your head up. Hopefully things get better next week for the Iron Bowl. OU, on the other hand, looked really good. And you have to wonder, man, where has this Oklahoma team been all year? This is the Sooner team that a lot of people thought they would see in week one. It wasn't meant to be, though. So Oklahoma with a nice signature win for Brent Venables, getting the win over Bama at home. You got to think, if Oklahoma can play like this from here on out, they're going to be right in that mix in 2025 for a spot in the SEC title game. We'll see, but a great win for OU on Saturday. Now, Brent Venables was on the hot seat. I think his seat has cooled significantly. Two other coaches that were on the hot seat early in the season, Shane Beamer at South Carolina and Billy Napier at Florida. Both of those coaches get nice wins yesterday. South Carolina wins over Wofford at home. Not necessarily a tremendous victory, but a victory nonetheless. Carolina improves to 8-3 on the season. And you got to think, man, going into that game versus Clemson, Carolina's coming in pretty hot. Florida also picking up a win yesterday. Much more impressive victory over 9th-ranked Ole Miss at home in the Swamp. Billy Napier, the guy that a lot of people called a dummy. They said that he should go back to the Sun Belt. They said he didn't know what he was doing. Well, I think he knows what he's doing because he has an injury-laden team, a team decimated by injuries, up to a 6-5 record. Now, a lot of the critics are saying, well, I can't believe Florida's celebrating being 6-5. That is not what the Gator Nation is celebrating. They are celebrating a near impossible turnaround in the middle of a season. Florida completely decimated by injuries in 2024. At the same time, playing probably the most difficult college football schedule of all time. Halfway through this season, most people had written the Gators off, and they had Coach Napier being let go at the end of the season. You got to give the Florida AD credit, though. He stuck with Napier. He said Coach Billy is coming back in 2025. And you know what? In hindsight, that looks like a brilliant decision because the Florida football team is fighting as hard for Coach Napier as any group of players has ever fought for any coach. It's something to behold. Finally, Auburn pulls out a stunning victory over Texas A&M in quadruple overtime in Auburn last night. If you did not watch this game, you certainly owe it to yourself to watch the highlight reel of this matchup. It is fairly incredible. And it really goes to show that there are no easy wins on the road in the SEC. A lot of people I know are going to be criticizing Texas A&M, saying, oh, they're looking forward to Texas next week and they weren't focused. I don't think that's true at all. I think the bottom line of this particular experience is you cannot take any team for granted in the Southeastern Conference, especially on the road. And an SEC road win is an SEC road win. It's always something to be celebrated. So hats off to Auburn for the quadruple overtime victory over A&M. What an incredible game it was, and it really capped off a weekend of chaos in the Southeastern Conference. Nationally, there's not too much that compares to it. Indiana drops a game on the road to Ohio State. I think the biggest conversation nationally, does Indiana deserve a spot in the 12-team playoff? Well, I don't think anyone knows yet. We have got to see how Week 14 plays out before we can get an answer to that question. Speaking of Week 14, stay tuned for the Week 14 SEC Power Rankings. This is Kevin saying God bless you, hook 'em horns, and I'll see you next week. Bye.